The Parks and Environmental Matters Committee meeting will come to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Tyus.
Present.
Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Navarro.
Present.
Alderwoman Wright.
Present.
Alderman Todd.
Present.
Chairman Cone.
Present.
Present, you have quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you, Madam Clerk. First on the agenda, we have approval of the minutes from our previous meeting of January 26, 2021. I'll entertain a motion on approval of the minutes.
So moved. Second.
It was moved by the Alderwoman of the 28th Ward and seconded, I believe, from the Alderwoman of the 1st Ward that we approve the minutes from the meeting January 26, 2021. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Chairman Cone.
Aye.
5 ayes votes.
Great, thank you. With that, you approve the minutes from our January 26th meeting just last week. We're already more meetings this year than we had last year. I know the initial purpose for our discussion this morning was to review parks funding per the request of our colleague from the 18th Ward. But in the interim, last Friday, we had appointments to the Missouri History Museum Sub-District Advisory Board submitted by the mayor last Friday, and those were referred to committee. So I would like to, since we do have some honored guests this morning, some of our constituents here who are those very nominations, I would like to actually make that, oh, and it is already listed as item number 1 on our agenda for this morning. So we have Mr. Gilberto Piniella and Mr. Tom Grady, Judge Grady. It's good to have both of them with us this morning. Now, typically with these, we'll allow you all the opportunity to introduce yourselves and, share a little bit about your background, and then also, your interest in the Missouri History Museum. And do we have the respective older people for these individuals here as well, or?
Mr. Chair, I represent Judge Grady.
Okay.
And then I believe Gilberto is 17.
Mr. Bulmer.
Oh, okay. He likely will not be here this morning. That's okay. So I think we all know you, Gilberto, and Judge Grady as well. But Annie, since you're here, would you like to kind of more formally do the introduction of Judge Grady?
Sure. I would like to put before the committee the mayor's nominations, and including a resident of the 8th Ward, Judge Thomas Grady.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So we have before us the mayor's nominations. They were not separated at last Friday's meeting as the previous nominations were. So we'll entertain these together this morning. Judge Grady, if you would do us the honors of, introducing yourself and sharing a little bit more about your interest in Missouri History Museum.
I'll try not to take too much of your time. Alderman, all of you, I'm honored to speak with you. In fact, to tell you the truth, this is the first time any body of the board has shown any interest in the sub-district. And I think it is an important thing that you might be fascinated to know that the sub-district is made up of 2 bodies, and one of them is the advisory members. The mayor, with the consent of the board, appoints 2 advisory members who are non-voting. Now, sometimes you can accomplish just as much without a vote as you can with your vote. And some of us have been very successful as non-voting members in changing the course of the History Museum's way of doing business. And then the other part of the subdistrict are a rotating group of people who nominate each other for their positions. And they are generally not exactly at one time, they were very much separate. At the meetings, you could feel a chill in the air, so to speak. But that chill has disappeared with the Danforth agreements that were made after Dr. Archibald left. And the stiff and rigid meetings that we once had 20 years ago are now gone. And there is a completely different atmosphere at the museum. The employees are not, they don't look to me like they're intimidated. They look like they're free to express their creativity. And we're very proud of the new relationship we have with the Historical Society. The Historical Society owns the collections. The public does not own the collections. And that's one of the peculiarities of this relationship, because at the zoo, they own the elephants. But at the museum, they do not own the exhibits. And so those are all peculiarities of the History Museum, because it was, as you may know, added to the Zoo Museum District. It was not originally part of the Zoo Museum District. And we have a wonderful director, Fran Levine. She has helped bring peace and happiness to our atmosphere. So I'm very pleased to have been on board all these years, to have witnessed this change. I'm an amateur St. Louis historian, and among my mentors was any number of college level professors and so forth. And Judge Nathan Young was a dear friend, and he got me interested in many aspects of the city's history. So I can be actually quite tiresome when I start on St. Louis history. I don't want to do that here. But if any of you have any questions of me, I'm very happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Judge. Not to steal my thunder by going through questions from the committee. I'll entertain those questions now. I'll start off with Alderwoman Navarro.
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank Judge Grady for his service to the History Museum.
Chairman Cohn, are you frozen?
I thought he was just really happy.
Vice Chairwoman, do you want to take over?
Sorry, well, I just turned off my camera because my internet connection is a little unstable. So Alderwoman Navarro, I kind of cut out right as you were speaking. I presume that you said your piece or asked your question. So
yes, I'm done. Thank you.
Alderwoman Tyus. Is that my computer? Or?
No, that's me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I renew my request from the previous time, in that I want the mayor's office to explain some things. I would like them to be here. If they don't give me something in writing about these things, they will be my continued questions. How many on the committee? What is the makeup of the committee? What are the rules of the committee? I have a few questions for the two people who I've known for a long time. I started my career with Judge Grady many years in the 80s. So I've known him since the 80s. I had the same thing with Gilberto. So for many years. But I still want this mayor's people to get on this call and to answer questions that they should not have to answer. And I will request that that happens. And I will always do it whenever we bring something to committee until they start sending that information over. I'm going to disagree with the judge a little bit because he's not sitting on the bench now, so I can do that. Many years ago, we used to have people come to our committees, and they had to come before our committees and answer questions. And it was much more like this, only a little bit more formal. So, but I go back 30 years, so we don't want to talk about that. Okay. And that was why we nominations are with the advise and consent of the board so that we can vet people, even our good dear friends. So I'll start with Judge Grady. Judge Grady, how long have you been on the committee?
I was thinking of that last
Board,
night.
I'm sorry,
because
board.
I thought you would ask that question. And I think it's been about 21, 22 years I've been on the commission. Mayor Bosley appointed me, and I've been renewed by each mayor in succession.
Okay.
I'm the longest serving commissioner.
Okay, and is that is the board is set up as I believe both city and county nominations? Is that correct?
Oh, that's right. There are 2 non-voting members that the mayor appoints and 2 that the county executive appoints. And those are I consider them the independent members of the commission, although we're now getting along smoothly with the others.
Well, the new people don't know when you reference about who left. I do understand. I do remember what it was like, unfortunately, with I'm not even going to say that name, but they don't know that history probably the way you and I do. And how many people and you're answering things that the mayor's people should be answering. How many people are on the committee that vote? Do you know?
I want to say 12, but it's somewhere, as my Aunt Genevieve would say, up and through there. It's somewhere around 12, I think, 12 to 14.
Okay.
Alderwoman Tyus, I just want to make note that the mayor's office does have a representative here, and I do believe that Michelle Knox is also on the line as well.
Great, that's fine. As I said, the judge and I go way back, so he's probably knows. I'm not going to dispute that Michelle knows things, but Judge Grady's been here for 20. I remember I was here for his original nomination, so and I will ask Michelle some questions also. Judge Grady, when do you know when your current term ended?
Well, it probably ended last year, late last year. But I honestly know, I want to be clear, I don't know precisely because I'm serving until my successor or until you approve my nomination again.
Okay. So I don't really have any substantial, those were procedural questions. It's going to be the same thing I have for Gilberto. Okay. Thank you very much, Judge Grady. How long have you been on the committee?
Good morning, first of all, and thank you so much for the honor of being present and the opportunity.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So we're currently just on Judge Grady at the moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I apologize.
Y'all
I'm
had
sorry.
the opportunity to introduce himself yet.
Mr. Chairman, I thought you said we weren't dividing them, so I'm so sorry. So I didn't know we were going to do them separate.
I just figured it would be easier to go through one at a time, and the motion hasn't been divided, so we'll entertain them as a whole when voting on them later.
Okay, so if I have a question of the mayor's office, do you want me to wait until everybody's done their questioning and then ask?
Yes, if you're able to do that, that would be great.
Okay, thank you.
So for the purposes of right now, we're just going to have any questions or comments for Judge Grady. And so does that mean that you're concluded for right now, Alderwoman? And we'll take up any questions there. Okay.
Yes.
So next on the list is Alderwoman Martin.
Thank you. I apologize for my tardiness. I did have a chance to look over the materials last night. We love the History Museum in my family. My daughter loves the Children's Museum especially. So I just want to commend that exhibit. I don't have any questions. Thank you very much for your service and thank you for coming here today.
Thank you, Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I don't really have any questions, Judge Grady. I was appreciating looking through your long record of service to the History Museum when we received the mayor's nominations. And thank you for your work. Thanks for the explanation this morning on kind of the goings on at the History Museum. Just wanted to say thanks, and it's an honor to represent you, sir.
I think you'll enjoy our the long-term plan. I finally succeeded in convincing them. They're going to build a model of the World's Fair. It's never been done before. And these actual physical models are gold because people come back with their grandchildren to see them in a rotating, unending fascination with these models. And so Archibald had no use for these models whatsoever. He was into magnet and TV screens and things, but we will now have a model, but it's going to take years to build it.
That sounds fantastic. As someone who's fascinated by the World's Fair and just the sheer size of the thing, it'd be really cool to see all laid out like that again. So that's great. Thank you.
Alderman Todd.
And I don't have any questions, but I would like to thank Judge Grady for his services to our great museum.
Well, thank you, Alderman. And anytime you have any interests or want to add to the history, why our door is always open.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. If there's no other questions or comments of Judge Grady, well, actually, I do see another colleague on the line, Alderwoman Boyd. I know you're not a member of the committee, but I do like to indulge colleagues who are present if they would like to entertain any questions or comments. I'm not hearing anything, so we'll move forward with the introduction for Mr. Piniella. I know his present alderperson is not on the line, but I have the dubious distinction of representing his neighboring ward. When I first ran, he was a resident of the 20th ward at the time. I've known him for more years than I care to admit right now. He has been a wonderful asset to the St. Louis community. He's very involved in many issues, causes, and organizations, whether they be related to civics or the LGBT community or the Hispanic community, Latinx community. He's just a wonderful advocate for everything that's St. Louis. And, I will turn it over to him to introduce himself and share a little bit more about his own background.
Well, once again, good morning, and thank you, Chair Shane Cohn, great friend. Wow. It's amazing to be here. It is a great opportunity, and I thank each and every one of you for giving me the opportunity to present and to hopefully get renominated and get reappointed to the commission as a non-voting member. I am Puerto Rican born and raised, therefore you see the background. I am not a native St. Louisan, obviously, but I have been here many years, so I consider myself an adopted son of St. Louis now. As Alderman Cohn said, I have been working for advocacy for a long, long time, whether it's through STL TV, doing the first foreign language television programming for the state of Missouri and the city of St. Louis, to now my involvement in different boards. With the History Museum, or the Historical Society, I have been involved since I was nominated first in 2018, got appointed in 2019, and now I have been requested to be reappointed again for a 4-year term as a non-voting member. It excites me to be, by the way, I'm also the communications manager for Cortex Innovation Community, and very involved with that aspect. We are totally dedicated into serving our community, of course, and then our goals are to be the most diverse and equitable innovation hub in the world. So we're working on that goal feverishly, and I bring that to the commission as well as a Latinx or English plus representative for the taxpayers that are underrepresented here in the city of San Luis as a non-voting member. And Judge Grady, thank you so much. You welcomed me when I first joined. I remember you even recommended a book that I should read. And it is always a pleasure to be serving alongside with you and having your knowledge guide me. So at the History Museum, I have been involved in advocating the interest of the Latinx community, the foreign-born community, which now we are changing the term of being English plus. Also the LGBTQ. I don't know if you heard recently about the mini exhibit, the virtual exhibit that we had for the Gateway to Pride. I had the opportunity not only to participate in the advisory committee as a commissioner and guide the inclusion of English plus representatives or history. And I also had the opportunity to host the virtual event. And now we're getting ready for 2024. The Latinx group, I also sit on the Latinx committee, which is in charge of the event of Dia de los Muertos, which also happens in November. And it's one of the bigger attractions to the museum as far as events are concerned. So I am really involved making sure that the interest of the underrepresented Latinx and foreign-born community are considered in everything that we do at the museum. So more on me. I have a master's degree in media communications. Obviously, I work part-time as a video specialist for STL TV. This is for performance. And you know, STL TV is the medium that I love. And I go way back. Alderman Tyus knows, and Alderman Rice too. So it is a pleasure to be here. And if you have any questions, I can answer them both in Spanish or English for you.
Thank you. And we'll go ahead and go through any questions or comments from the committee. We'll start with Vice Chair Navarro.
Muchas gracias, Chairman. Thank you very much, Mr. Pinella. I have a front row seat to the History Museum here since I live here in Skinker de Bolivar. So just very grateful for all of your work on the events and everything that's happening at the museum. I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Okay. Alderwoman Tyus.
Just one. I was trying to understand, did you say you were finishing up one term and starting another one, or I didn't understand that? Can you repeat that?
So I replaced as a non-voting member, I replaced Mrs. Krim, who was a non-voting member commissioner. So I finished her term in December of 2019. No, in December of 2020, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And 2020 was just a blur. So in December of 2020, and I was recommended to be reappointed now as a full 4-year non-voting member commissioner.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Martin.
Sorry, I'm lagging today. Can you guys hear me? Okay, it's just slow on my and thank you. No, thank you for coming here today. Your resume is impressive. Thank you for all of your service to the city. And I don't know how you sleep at night or how you get sleep, sorry, and with all that you're doing. So I definitely support this appointment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions for you, Gilberto. I am just thrilled to see your smiling face this morning. And I am sorry that I am not also your alderman, so I couldn't introduce you the same way this morning. But just thank you for all of your work for St. Louis, for your passion for the people here, for our history, for our culture. You're a gem, and we're so lucky to have you. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Alderman Todd.
I don't have any questions. I would just like to thank Mr. Gilberto for his service to our city.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you both again for your service. We'll entertain questions from the mayor's office at this point in time. We do have, I know Madison is on the line, and she confirmed that Michelle was available. I'm not sure if they're sharing a phone, or I don't see another phone line active presently. Oh, yep, there they are. Okay, wonderful. Okay. So I know that there are some questions that routinely come up relative to these appointments and committees and commissions. So I want to afford the members of the committee the opportunity to ask those questions now. I'll start with Vice Chair Navarro.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Madison or Michelle, I need a confirmation. How many people are voting members on this committee? I mean, on this board, not committee.
There are 10 voting members.
And are half of them for the city and half of them for the county?
Yes.
Okay, and who are the city's members?
The city members are Simone Cummins, Cynthia Krim, Elizabeth McNulty, Frank Hampshire, and Laura Cohn.
And do you know of what wards any of these people live in?
Yes, Simone Cummings, 18th Ward, Cynthia Krim, 6th Ward, Elizabeth McNulty, 8th Ward, Frank Hampshire and Lori Cohen, 28th Ward.
Okay, so that confirms my suspicion. Very little representation from North St. Louis, but this is not this sub-district advisory board, but I will be bringing that up at a later date. So just want to make the record is that we do not have people, or very limited people, from North St. Louis on these boards, and that is across the board, if you would take a look at that. And I'm again disappointed in the mayor and the previous mayor for doing this, but these two people are wonderful people, so I will stick to the record and say I am supportive of both of them, and I don't have any further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alderwoman. And we do have some discussions taking place as well that will probably come up in the next week or so. But I did have this a similar conversation with Commissioner Hayes with respect to the appointments being representative, not only in terms of the diversity of the city, but also geographically within the city. And so you already know, I share your concerns with respect to representation on these boards and commissions. And so, you know, I likewise would like to make it known that I share those concerns. You know, and even if I wrote those down correctly, there's not even very much representation from the south side of the city either. There's most of those seem to be in the central corridor. I heard 28, 6, 8. You know, and even before us currently, we have folks from the 17th and the 8th ward, which are all in the central corridor. So, we'll continue to try and right the ship in that regard as best we can, but we'll continue to have those conversations and press the issue. Alderwoman Martin.
I have nothing else. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Rice.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderman Todd.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, we've had the opportunity to introduce and ask questions of our two nominees and relayed concerns and ask questions of the mayor's office pertaining to the board and the nominees. I will entertain a motion on the mayor's nominees to the Missouri History Museum Sub-District Advisory Board.
I move that we, go ahead, no. Alderwoman.
I just move that we accept the mayor's nominations, these two gentlemen, to the Missouri History Museum Sub-District Advisory Board with a due pass recommendation. Yeah.
So it's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 8th Ward that we accept the mayor's nominations or confirm the mayor's nominations of Mr. Gilberto Pinilla and Mr. Thomas Grady to the Missouri History Museum Sub-District Advisory Board. It's been seconded by the Alderwoman from the 28th Ward.
Previous roll.
There's been a call for previous roll. Is there any objection to previous roll?
Excuse me, Alderman. Chairman
Alderman Martin.
Yeah, Alderwoman Martin was not on the minutes.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, Madam.
I was thinking, did we vote again? But sorry.
We have not. So, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Chairman Cone.
Aye.
6 aye votes.
Great. You all have passed out of committee with a unanimous vote. It will now go before the full board, which will be meeting on Friday to finalize your nomination to the Missouri History Museum Sub-District Advisory Board. But thank you both for your time this morning and coming before our committee, sharing a little bit more about yourselves and hopefully learning a little bit more about our own processes here down at the Board of Aldermen. But very much appreciate your service to our city and our region, and very much look forward to working with you all and hopefully seeing you in the future very soon.
Alderman Cohen, may I intrude for just a moment?
I will grant you that indulgence, sir.
Thank you. I just want to say, as a student of St. Louis history, our city's table of organization was put together by Mayor Rollo Wells at the turn of the last century. And we have a great deal to be proud of, no matter what other people want to say about the city of St. Louis. The civility on the board of aldermen is a testament to the traditions of an old city like ours. And when you look at what's happening out in Clayton, you can be very proud of the Board of Aldermen. That's all I have.
Thanks, Judge. I think we all can appreciate that today. Thank you both for your time. We are going to take up our second agenda item, which is funding for our city parks. You both are welcome to attend if you would like to, but you are certainly not required to do so at this point, and can go on about your daily business. But with that, thanks again for your time, and we will now take up the matter, the second item on the agenda, which is the funding for our city parks. I specifically have this on the agenda because of conversations that we had at our last meeting, and specifically the request of Alderman Todd to have the Parks Director here to discuss, the various funds for our city parks, and allow the committee the opportunity to ask any questions pertaining to that. Also on the line, I believe we have Commissioner Hayes, and then Director Evelyn Peebles-Rice from the recreation perspective as well. Mr. Hayes, Mr. Hayes, did we have Mr. Jankowski here as well, or is it just Ms. Higley and Ms. Rice?
It's just Commissioner Rice and Commissioner Higley and myself. I didn't think Alan Jankowski, Commissioner, was requested, but certainly try to get him at another time if you'd like.
That's fine. He was not. I just wanted to make sure that if he was, that we recognized he was here. So I appreciate all of you being here this morning. I don't have anything specific at this point that I would like to, direct or ask questions of. So I will turn it over. I guess briefly, Director Hayes or I'm sorry, Commissioner Hayes and Director Higley, if there are any comments that you would like to make in advance, or if you would like to just dive into the questions from the committee, I'm happy to do that as well.
Well, Chairman, I really appreciate that. I don't want to jump right in front of Evelyn and Kim, but I do have a couple comments, and I'll be very brief. As somewhat related, somewhat unrelated, following up on your comments about committees and boards, I've been in the position, I don't want to focus on myself, but for sake of reference, I've been in my position for 6 years. Thoroughly enjoy it, obviously, and I try to make a conscientious effort when committee appointments and board appointments come up. So you're right, there'll be something coming down the line to this committee for a board. Be happy to answer any questions and certainly have the utmost respect for the committee and their opinions and decisions and possible approvals or not. The other thing is, when we first got the email about this meeting, it sounded like it was kind of parks focused, but after looking into it a little more, that's why I brought Evelyn on the line. So I will, Evelyn and Kim can certainly answer any questions with their respective divisions. And of course, I'm on the line as well to assist or answer anything as well. So thank you for the opportunity.
Great, thank you. So we'll go ahead and just kind of walk through any questions from the committee at this point in time. Vice Chair Navarro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'd like to hear from some of the other committee members. I don't have any questions right now.
Okay. Before we dive into further questions from the committee, actually, I do want to provide, Kim Higley, Director Higley, if you could, because I did have this question now that I think about it. I don't recall seeing a resolution for parks funding for this current fiscal year that we're still in. Can you just explain, why that is, like what happened to the Prop P funding for this year, and why we haven't had a resolution before us for funding for metro and neighborhood parks?
So as you recall, we did not have our ward capital meetings this year. Those would have taken place right about the time COVID was starting to take off, and we weren't all Zoom oriented then. So I'm assuming that's why we didn't do Zoom meetings for our normal ward capital meetings. So what I've been concentrating on is the projects that were approved in fiscal year 20. I don't know if all of you are aware, but my civil engineer was written out of the budget last year. So I have been on my own with trying to get these projects through the pipelines. And so that's been my concentration this year, was the fiscal year 20 projects that were falling by the wayside because I did not have staff to help me with that. I will let you know that I am to the point where I have everything in the pipeline being ordered through BPS, things like that. The only thing that I don't have is I have 7 playgrounds that I need to get done, and I am working with supply to try and get a contractor under contract to make those last items happen. Since we did not meet, I didn't have a whole lot of requests at all. I had inquiries specifically from Alderman Vaccaro that I'm getting bids and estimates on. But all of the money that we received for the 2 Metro Park funds and neighborhood park funds are still there. My intent would be that we will have that funding plus additional funding, whatever that is. I can't, with the way the financial situation is for the city, I have no idea what that'll be. But we'll meet, you'll actually be receiving the yearly letters that I send out prior to the ward capital meetings for any projects that the aldermen want to take on. So the money is still there. It just hasn't been assigned to a project yet. And that's why you did not receive resolutions for anything.
Okay. So with respect to that, but am I understanding correctly though that Alderman Vaccaro has a project that's moving forward using Prop P funds from 2021 that weren't approved by resolution?
No, sir. So we're getting an estimate for him.
Okay.
Because your ward capital was cut back last year, it's hard to tell, what you're stretching what you have even farther than you were before. So all we're doing is investigating his request right now so that he has an idea of how much the project will cost and if he can even afford to do it at this time.
Okay. So would it be helpful if I were to send an email out to my colleagues requesting them to send any particular projects or updates to their parks that they would like to have funded from the 2021 fiscal year so that we can try and put a resolution together in advance of the new fiscal year?
We can. Honestly, I don't know if we have to do that every year. I'm assuming that we would, but at this point, I don't know what we're gonna get money-wise. You know what I'm saying, for the next year. So I don't know if we can combine those 2 years or not.
No, we can't. So we need to appropriate 2021 funds in the 2021 fiscal year. So we need to go ahead and send out requests to the board, electronic requests, asking them, what funds they would need in order to, and if they have matching funds in their ward capital, so be it. Some people accumulate funds, save them for projects going forward. Just because ward capital was slightly impacted this past or this current fiscal year. As an example, me using myself personally, I have various funds and different accounts that I have set aside for projects that I'm either saving for or ready to execute on, and that was irrespective of the ward capital monies that were allotted for this fiscal year as well. But I do think that it's important that we pass a resolution prior to the end of this fiscal year. So and do it separate from the new fiscal year as well. So I'll go ahead and draft an email. If there are documents that you have that could support, I know typically in the past you have sent kind of the need in the various neighborhood parks for each ward. If you're able to provide that to me, I can include that in my messages out to my colleagues, letting them know kind of the extenuating circumstances of this particular fiscal year and why we're doing this so late, but at least afford them the opportunity to move forward on some of these projects. And also recognizing that you're short-staffed as well, and so it might take more time for planning and implementation of those projects as well.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, Thank you, Director Hagley. Appreciate that. I'll move through the remainder of the committee. Alderwoman Tyus.
I had a question, Mr. Chairman, for Commissioner Higley, if it's all right.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we have Director Hayes, Commissioner Higley, and also Commissioner Rice is on the line. So any of the three, if the committee would like to ask any of them questions, you're welcome to do so.
Commissioner, so now you have Zoom capabilities. So couldn't you do small meetings with the aldermen now that wanted to talk to you, or is it too time consuming because you have so much going? You lost someone and you have so much going on. Is that the reason why you didn't reach out to us once we had the ability to do Zoom meetings? Because couldn't we have just done the things that we usually do with you, 50-50 sidewalk and all of those people? Couldn't we have done that as a Zoom meeting?
I don't see why we couldn't. I'd have to speak with Stephanie Doss from BPS. She's usually the one that coordinates all this. I will say that in January, February of last year, letters did go out to all the aldermen asking for projects. But in all honesty, I only get responses from maybe a half dozen people, because most of what we do in those ward capital meetings. That's usually when we talk about it and decide. So, so yeah, I can ask Stephanie if we can coordinate that, if you'd like.
No, I just was asking for maybe other people. I will reach out to you in the next week with the things that I need to get done. And I heard you say, and I guess I missed this, you lost a person on your staff under the budget?
Yes.
And who? What position was that?
Civil engineer. So that person helps process these construction projects. She would meet on site for construction meetings, let contractors into buildings. She did for MSD, the BMP inspections. She would go out and meet with the playground contractors. Yeah, just a whole slew. She was getting to the point where, and you may remember her, Melvin Nasi, she was actually getting to the point where she was able to manage the budgets and help and recognize the different funding sources. So when I lost her, it was a big, it made a big impact. My only salvation was COVID, believe it or not, because things had slowed down. Things had slowed down that I was able to get caught up, and we didn't have the normal ward capital meetings. So, but yeah, we can gear that back up and get that back on the, to the forefront and get it taken care of.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I have had Greg Hayes and others from in my committee when I was the chair of public employees. I already know one of the major problems that we have is our staffing, just what commissioners just said. We do not have nearly enough employees in forestry or parks, and even for BPS. From the time when we first started getting this ward capital, which I was here when we did it, to what I'm looking at now, it is ridiculous. The mayors keep cutting back. So I'm just gonna do a preemptive strike and take up for them and say they do a wonderful job for what they have. They need double the amount of people that they have and then some. We also have to be reminded that we have so many LRA properties that was not really the intent of what forestry was supposed to be doing, but they've picked all of that up. LRA does not pay for half of what forestry does. And so I don't really have any questions. I just wanted to make that statement. And I also want to, the alderman from the 18th asked for this hearing. So I guess I kind of want to hear what he has to say and have it directed somewhat by him, since that was his request to have this hearing. So I have no questions at all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is Greg. May I follow up just very briefly on Alderwoman Tyus's comments?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I want to thank Alderwoman Tyus. She and I have been in communication for over a decade over our issues with staffing, and I don't want to get into that now. She knows my feelings and what our concerns are. It's more of me to provide insight when Ways and Means Committee meets. But I just want to comment, Kim, during Kim's tenure and working with me, Kim tends to be a very humble commissioner, and so is Evelyn. But what I'm focusing on Kim is she's not going to make a plea on this committee hearing for staffing help, but she's kind of soft tossing the issue of losing a civil engineer one. Basically, it's Kim and all due respect to our great clerical staff, but Kim and about less than a handful of clerical staff to do 110 parks. So what I'm saying there is that civil engineer is critical. Otherwise, Kim's spending a lot of her time as commissioner going out and inspecting playgrounds, et cetera, comfort stations. So Kim's being humble, and I just want to thank you and make those comments. So I appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Commissioner. I just want to note as well, we will be getting to Alderman Todd. I know he's last on the list, but he will definitely have the opportunity to ask questions and present any concerns that he has as well. But also, I guess, since we're talking about staffing, Director Higley or Commissioner Hayes, do we have intentions to replace this position? Has it been posted? What is the current status of this civil engineer position that you all are referencing?
I don't want to dominate, but I'd like to speak first. Kim, the budgets are due February 12th. I'm reviewing all of our respective divisions' budget no later than tomorrow when I ask for them to preliminarily send them to me. Kim has actually been fiscal. I don't want to keep just boasting about Kim, but Kim has actually, in a conscientious fiscal effort, dropped that position to an engineering tech 2 on her first draft. I debated whether we just try to get the civil engineer 1 back in, but I think she's just saying, hey, I'll take 1 staff member to look at these park projects at a lower pay grade. So the answer to your question, Chairman, is yes. And right now it's an engineering tech 2. Is that correct, Kim?
Right. So during last year's budget, at some point that position was written out. And when I found out about it, I asked for it to be put back in during I don't know if it's called the supplemental budget in September sometime. About that time, we were hot and heavy into COVID, and so there was no hiring going on. So I'm trying again this year to put that position back in the budget.
Thank you. Alderwoman Martin.
Thank you. I mean, I'm probably negligent not requesting a specific meeting for my parks budget and other specific budgets or department budgets. I know some of us have requested meetings through BPS, and then we just, it wasn't a full-on budget meeting with all the representatives like we're used to. So, that's kind of shame on me, I suppose. But I don't really have any other questions or comments at this time, other than I think it probably does need to get done just because we don't know where we stand with our word capital, and that's on us, and just because of COVID and just a lot of different issues. But I, for one, will maybe I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe it's best if several of us just make sure that that's a possibility for everyone to just kind of get back on track with those meetings and see where we stand. So thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Rice.
Thank you. I don't have any specific questions at the moment. I'm happy to hear Alderman Todd's concerns and go from there. So thank you. Thank you all for being here this morning, though.
And Alderman Todd.
First of all, let me thank our honorable guests from the Parks Department, as well as thank you, Mr. Chairman, and our honorable Parks Committee people for allowing me to speak. And also thank you so much for attending the meeting. And also, Mr. Chairman, thank you for calling the meeting. First of all, before I start talking, I always like to state my sources as to why having parks are great for many reasons. First of all, it reduces crime, the COVID-19, and also, and so some of my sources are Diane Goopster, Dr. John of Channel 5. Also, it's a book called Quiet Roots, and also a book called Broken Heart of America, which deals with the need for, and then there was an article in the American. So many studies have shown that parks are important to mental health, as well as saving lives, because COVID-19, people seem to fare better when they are in good health and don't have certain underlying conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, and many other diseases that negatively impact actually African Americans. So it's important that all of our parks, whether it be north, south, east, west, or central, that every citizen be as active as possible, because everybody's health and life is important. Let me make that very clear. Now, I do have some history of these funds that the citizens themselves have voted for. So, and this is to prevent crime. And in 2005, Proposition P, a 1/8 cent sales tax was passed to do the following: $700,000 for neighborhood recreation and social development programs in underserved areas. So that was, and then February the 5th, 2008, a sales tax was passed to do the following: $1 million for crime prevention program was passed, which was to include programs for youth and crime prevention. So when we talk, and then in 2008, $1,200,000 was passed for park improvement recreation north of Delmar. And then $300,000 for recreational program was passed. Proposition P was passed in April 2nd, 2013. $2,500,000 was passed for parks and recreation. That's on a yearly basis. That's the background. I guess my statement is, I'm gonna make a statement first. My question then is, first of all, where is that money? All of those, I'm gonna make a statement. First of all, it shows that the voters, instead of, I'm just using airplanes, police or whatever, the airplanes or any other method of locking people up. It shows since the voters have voted over and over again to prevent crime by having activities. And so that's very important to note. So we've had citizen participation, not only participation, but citizens willing to pay to prevent crime. But however, we have not been appreciating that a solution. But at the same time, I want to know now, my question to the parks people is, how much money is there in reserve to implement these programs? And that's the first question. The second question is, where are the programs that are currently being run on the money that the taxpayers have voted to allocate for these programs? So that's my information. If people have questions for me, I will answer your question, but these are the facts that and laws that have been passed.
Chairman, may I just start off real quickly?
Sure.
Alderman Todd, I appreciate all that information you presented. It's very helpful. I know Evelyn, in terms of recreation, would have jotted down the years, and I tried my best to jot them down as well. Weaken it now that I know the specific years, and please excuse me if I was remiss in you saying that in the past, those specific years, we can provide you with the amount of funding we have in each. A couple things come to mind. One of the things you mentioned was the 1.2 million. That's the BJC lease, I believe, around 2007, 2008. That's what essentially created Playtime Recreation, which is our summer camps, which is essentially hovers around $400,000 a year in dedicated programming and some staffing with that too. The other one that comes to mind is the 8-cent sales tax on retail sales, back to put the two new rec centers in the city. That's O'Fallon Recreation and Carondelet. So there's also those funds as well that contributed to that. Another one was, it gets a little confusing because Prop P is used more than once. There was Prop P funds 2 or 3 years ago to create recreational program funds that we do recreational programming in our centers. And I know in the past it's true that you want to see supervised activities in city parks by the recreation division. So we can get you the balances of where we stand on those. The funds are appropriated for programming. And then I believe the funds you're referring to do roll over if not used, but we've had successful summer programming with the exception of COVID last year. We did not allow any private organizations into our rec centers due to social distancing and 10-person participant capacities from the health division. But I feel quite confident we were very successful doing it with our internal staff. But we can, if we can go to each ordinance, we can get you where we are, and we can get you examples of what we have done with programming, and those funds are restricted to programming only, and what we plan to do hopefully this year, starting back up after a year off, so to speak. And I'd be happy to hand it to Evelyn. But now that I know those specific years, or we can certainly get you that information, especially for the 18th ward, which you're obviously interested in.
No, I'm interested. Let me correct you. I'm interested in every ward in the city. I don't represent each one. It's up to the alderperson in that ward how they want to, which direction they want to take their ward. But I am interested in everyone getting their fair share. I'm interested in every citizen of St. Louis being healthy. So I'm not just concerned about the 18th ward. So I want to make it very clear, because if the 18th ward if everyone else is taking care of the 18th ward, will be taken care of too.
Understood. So we have 7 rec centers, 110 parks. All of them are available to do programming in. So that's our goal, is to do as much as we can with both internal staff and private organizational staff, which we did do a request for proposal in 2018 with a lot of successful programming in 2019, but not in 2020, internal only. Be happy to get you that information.
Right, so please get it for all of us. Please make sure you include everyone. Again, I want to reiterate, it's important that you understand, it's important to me that everyone, every alderperson throughout the city who's interested in getting funds that they deserve, get what they deserve. So I'm not just about me.
I've got some preliminary information and some historical information, if that's helpful. As far as recreation doing activities in city parks, I asked the staff to put together the list of the parks that we've been in over the last 6 years. And of course, COVID backed us way up. But in the past 6 years, recreation's been in Lindenwood Park, Wilmore Park, Beckett Park, Hickey Park, Handy Park, Amherst Park, Visitation, which is now Ivory Perry Park, Windsor Park, Turner Park, Murphy Park, St. Louis Place Park, Cochran Park, Fox Park, Forest Park, Tiffany Park, Marquette Park, Sherman Park, Terry Park, Rauschenbach Park, Yateman Park, Dwight Davis Park, Benton Park, Gwen Giles Park, and Chambers Park. Also, as far as going to outside groups to use that programming money to come to all the rec centers, I can share with you the contracts that we negotiated that were in process. Some of them were able to, most of them were able to function for about a year and a half. And then when COVID came, we had to cease. But those programs are the New Dimension Soccer Program, Midwest Soccer Program, Black Radio Hall of Fame, Xavier Entertainment, Robinson's Karate, Bricks for Kids, Better Family Life, New Art Series, Golf Foundation of Missouri, Bread and Roses, Coca, Chef Pat, Severe Entertainment, Warren 360 Golf, The Black Rep, Stray Dog Theater, Thomas Dunn Learning Center, Jean Slay Boys and Girls Club, Warren 360 Garden Lab, University of Missouri, Urban Arts, and North St. Louis Arts. And the way that worked is we put out an RFP. We had many meetings. On the RFP selection committee were representatives from Recreation, the mayor's office, the comptroller's office, the president of the Board of Aldermen's office, and the director of the department. We met. We had presentations from each group. We evaluated each group. We selected the groups, and the groups got started. It was really exciting for us and for the staff to have these outside groups come in. They basically taught the class while my staff kind of made sure things went smoothly. And we really only stopped because of the COVID. For me, I've been with the city 35 years. It was pretty exciting to see youngsters learning, for example, to play the violin at Tandy Rec Center at no cost to them. It was nice to see kids golfing, learning how to play golf for the first time. Alderman Todd, you and I were in several meetings together, so I know how enthused you are and passionate, because we were on our way, hopefully, to getting a contract with a memorandum of understanding with St. Louis Housing Authority so that we could bring programming to McMillan Place. We had the cooperation of the Police Athletic League. We had recreation. We had you. The Housing Authority was a little difficult, but we finally got a lot of green to sign the agreement, giving us access to that facility. So what I've said before, and I can say again, we are open to going out insofar as our staff, our structure will allow. And one of the good things about what we call the request for proposals is that I didn't have to have new staff. The staff was hired by, those vendors actually doing the program. That's kind of all I have. Hello?
Yeah, well, I was waiting for the chair to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I just was hoping I didn't push a button or something.
No, I have to wait till the chair. I have to ask the chair, may I be recognized? I can't just start talking.
I'm sorry.
You still have the floor, Alderman Todd.
Okay, then. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rice. I just want to reiterate that there are some designations for different areas at the same time. I want to reiterate that not only should we find out about this money, our priority should be to, if additional monies are needed, rather than wasting it on more police officers, airplanes, and other things, we need to use as much prevention as we can, because you cannot be involved in constructive activities and taking care of your health and be involved in whether it's legal drugs like alcohol or illegal drugs like whether it's cocaine or crack or heroin or whatever, some kind of pills, opioids or whatever. So I think that's that's part of the real solution to our problem. And so I can't reiterate it enough, is that we need to have a cultural change. That's what we need. And that's how we're going to reduce crime and make people happy in our city. So okay, so thank you very much. If anyone has any questions, I would be glad to answer them.
Alderman Todd, just a comment. Greg Hayes here. I can't express enough the joy it gives our staff, whether it's internal staff or contractual staff, to see the youth and the adult population enjoy our rec centers and parks. And just seeing some kids during COVID come in for virtual assistance with homework in a couple of our rec centers, maybe more than that, Evelyn could correct me, but to see them doing homework helper and things, even basketball skills, where they're not allowed to play basketball with the full contact with COVID, but skills. But I agree, just providing these individuals, our rec center participants who know our staff very well, just to provide them with the positive outlets. It's a lot of, we have extrinsic satisfaction with our job, certainly, but there's a lot of intrinsic satisfaction our staff get to see these young folks happy and have a positive outlet. There's no question about it.
And then I would like to say I have had the honor of meeting all of you, everyone who is there, and I know how dedicated you are to your job. And so it's not just a paycheck. I know that y'all are committed. And what I'm saying is that we need, as the board and the city, provide you with all the resources that you need to be able to serve our 100 parks, which we probably have more parks than most big cities. We have Forest Park, and also we have a park, I can't call its name, it's a big park over there near South Side, but we have some of the greatest parks. So and we need to use them to the maximum. And we certainly can be a model city for preventing crime, from getting people healthier, and that will save us money in healthcare costs, as well as making people stay in the cities because they're enjoying our city. And that's how we're going to that's how we're going to keep people in the city. That's how we're going to reduce crime. And even more than that, that's how we're going to make people's lives. That's how we're going to have people happy in our cities. And thank you again for all you all do.
Well, thank you. Thank you for those kind words. And we really do like what we do. We're in the happy business over here. And we really do. And as the director said, it was very almost emotional to go in the rec centers, excuse me, and see the children 6 feet apart doing homework and so on. And a couple of 2 or 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, under Director Hayes, we opened the indoor pools back up, and our seniors are back out doing their water aerobics. They're 6 feet apart. We've had to put on more classes with few people in them, but it is good to see the people coming back.
Good, that's great. Again, thank you. If anyone has any questions, I would be glad to answer them.
Sure, and I'll go ahead and entertain questions from our committee members. If they have any of Alderman Todd or others present, Vice Chair Navarro. Alderwoman Tyus, looks like you might be leaving us.
I have another meeting. I have no questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, but I do have to go to another meeting.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman Martin. I think she had to step away also for another meeting. Alderwoman Rice.
Again, thank you all for being here. Thank you. I know the rec programs in 2019 were incredibly successful. I loved watching those get expanded and watching the kids thrive in those. So I think we're all hoping for a return to more of that here as soon as possible. So thank you again for coming this morning, and Commissioner Rice also for listing off all of those programs. I think it's great to remember just what all we had in place, what we currently have in place. Thank you all for your work.
Uh, I think that's all of the members of the committee that are present. I see that Alderwoman Ingracia has joined as well. Alderwoman, do you have any comments or questions that you would like to make?
I don't. Thanks for asking. I just wanted to listen in.
Great. Alderman Todd, if there's any additional questions or comments that you'd like to make, you're welcome to do so at this point.
I would just like to request that that we get in writing the amount of funds from each one of these laws that were passed, so that we will know exactly how much money is available and where it's going. That's what I would. That would be my request on a yearly basis, so that we can keep up with it and be able to make sure everybody's getting their fair share.
Alderman, could you please email me the list of funds and years that you outlined earlier, so that I have it in its entirety, and then I can pass that along to the respective city personnel that are present here, and we can ensure that that happens.
Yes, I will type it up and email it to you. I will do it this weekend and have it to you this weekend.
Thank you, Alderman.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so thank you all. That's all the questions, it seems, from the members of the committee and other older people who are present. I also just want to reiterate my thanks to all of you. I know this past year has not been easy for any of us. Have to exercise some agility and operating in a lot of ambiguity, and certainly with fewer resources than we've had to in the past. And so, I want to thank you for all of your hard work and dedication to our fine city, and certainly to our recreation and parks programs and places, and the people who enjoy them, because I think that's why all of us are here serving, is to ensure that the citizens of this city have that access and opportunity to enjoy those amenities as well. So Commissioner Hayes and Director Rice and Director Higley, thank you so much for your time this morning. I will forward along any follow-ups to you that I received from members of the committee, and we'll continue the conversation.
Chairman and fellow committee members, I thank you for your time as well. We're here to serve, but we're also very appreciative of your support. We know times are tough fiscally, but your support means a lot to us, and we just try to do our jobs to the best of our ability.
Thanks, Commissioner Hayes. So we have no other agenda items on our calendar for today. So is there any request for new business, additional new business? Any requests for future meeting?
I do have, I don't know if it's Chairman, I don't know if it's actually a formal request for a future meeting, but just to update on a telephone conversation you and I had that you alluded to earlier. We're trying to reach that one last board prospect, if you will. And if we can reach her this morning, Michelle Knox, we'll have the last one, and then we'll get you that letter and all that paperwork just as quickly as we can. I know you're going out of session this Friday. I am not asking for anything to be sped up or some expeditious process, but per your cue, we'll send you the letters and go from there with the process. I don't want to be coy. Everybody on the committee, I'm referring, we have several Forest Park Advisory Board reappointments, and I believe 3 new appointments. So that's what I'm referring to.
Okay. Alderman Todd.
I would like, after we come back in from our break, I would like for you to think about having a meeting so that we can see where we are on the information as far as the request that we made today about where the money is, how it's being spent, what capital money is being used, and what projects is the park working on, what capital money is being used, and how much we have available. That would give us till April, so maybe we will have that information, and maybe our honorable guests can come back after our break.
Yeah, and actually, thank you, Alderman. We will likely have a committee hearing over our recess to wrap up any unfinished business before the end of session in April. So that is kind of the prerogative of the chair and the committee to move forward with business, even when the full body might be on a legislative recess. So I've already contemplated that, and I appreciate you bringing that up as well. So we will do our best to move forward, one with the resolutions in terms of parks funding for the remainder of this fiscal year, and then the follow-up. So as long as you're able to get me that email this weekend with the different funds that you were related to earlier, so that we can ensure that Director Rice and Commissioner Hayes have those, so that they can follow up on any of those, that would be great. But I do intend to have at least one committee hearing during the recess, and we'll try and work with all of you to coordinate that, so it doesn't upend any schedules that might be in place currently. So thank you for that, Alderman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, with no other business, the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you so much for all your time today, and appreciate all your attendance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.